Picture this. The world is holding its breath, and I'm standing on the edge of something wild, something untamed, with nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat thumping in my ears. My name's Vanessa, 27 years old, and I'm married to a man who could convince a fish to climb a tree if he set his mind to it. That's Ethan, my husband, 30 years old and built like he was carved from the mountains he loves so much. He's got this rugged charm, a crooked smile that could melt ice, and an insatiable hunger for adrenaline that keeps our life anything but ordinary. Me, I'm the opposite. I crave the quiet of routine, the comfort of a cozy chair and a good book. But loving Ethan means stepping into his world, even when my legs are shaking and my mind is screaming to turn back. Our marriage is a beautiful kind of chaos. Ethan's always dragging me into adventures that make my heart race for all the wrong reasons. We've camped in remote wilderness where the silence is so thick you can feel it pressing against your skin. We've kayaked through rivers so fierce I swore the water had teeth. And don't get me started on the nights spent under the stars in tents, so flimsy, I'm convinced a strong breeze could send us tumbling into the next county. It's exhausting, honestly. My body aches, my nerves fray, but there's a part of me that can't help but love the way Ethan's eyes light up when he's in his element. It's like watching a kid discover the world for the first time, and I'd do just about anything to keep that spark alive in him. So, when he came to me with his latest brainchild, I knew resistance was futile. A nighttime forest quest, he called it. An immersive survival experience, no GPS, no modern tech, just us against the raw, unfiltered wild. It's supposed to test our limits, push us to the brink, and I'll admit, the thought of it makes my stomach twist into knots, but Ethan's enthusiasm is infectious. He talked about it for days, mapping out the route in his head, his voice buzzing with excitement as he described how we'd navigate by the stars and rely on nothing but our wits. How could I say no? I love seeing him like this, so alive, so unstoppable, even if it means I'm signing up for a night of pure, unadulterated dread. We're not going in alone, thank goodness. Ethan hired a guide, a man named Blake, to lead our small group of adventure seekers into the unknown. Blake's in his late 30s, tall and weathered, with skin that looks like it's been kissed by the sun one too many times. There's a quiet intensity about him, like he's seen things in the wilderness most of us couldn't dream of. His eyes are sharp, always scanning, and when he speaks, it's with a deep, gravelly voice that carries the weight of someone who knows the forest like the back of his hand. I'm standing here now, at the edge of this sprawling, shadowy forest, with 7 other brave, or maybe just crazy, souls ready to follow Blake into the unknown. There's Ethan, of course, practically vibrating with excitement beside me, and then a mix of folks I've only just met. A couple of college buddies of Ethan's, a quiet woman with a steely gaze, a middle-aged guy who looks like he's regretting every life choice that led him here, and 2 others who seem more curious than confident. 8 of us in total, a ragtag crew about to dive into the heart of the night. Blake steps forward, his boots crunching on the gravel as he gathers us in a tight circle. The moonlight catches the hard lines of his face as he lays down the law with that gravelly voice of his. No technology, he says, not even a watch if it's got a digital face. We're to stick to the marked paths, no wandering off, no shortcuts. And above all, stay alert, because the forest doesn't care if we're tired or scared. His words hang heavy in the cool night air, and I feel a shiver crawl up my spine, not just from the chill. I glance at Ethan, hoping for a reassuring grin, but he's too busy nodding at Blake, soaking in every word like it's gospel. We start our trek, boots crunching on a carpet of fallen leaves, the sound sharp against the stillness. The moon is high, casting a pale, ghostly light through the canopy above, but it's not enough to chase away the shadows that seem to cling to every tree, every bush. They move with us, or at least, I think they do, dark shapes flickering just beyond the beam of my flashlight. I grip it tighter, my knuckles whitening, as a distant owl lets out a low, mournful hoot that echoes through the trees. It's like the forest is alive, watching us, waiting to see if we're worthy of passing through. Ethan sticks close, his shoulder brushing mine every few steps. He leans in, voice low, and cracks a joke about how we're probably scaring the wildlife more than they're scaring us. I force a laugh, but it's thin, barely masking the way my heart's hammering. He notices, of course. He always does, and slings an arm around me for a quick squeeze before letting go to adjust his pack. I'm grateful for the warmth, even if it's fleeting, because the darkness feels like it's pressing in, heavy and thick, like a weight on my chest. We've been walking for about an hour when the group starts to loosen up a bit. The initial tension gives way to small talk and shared challenges. There's a narrow log bridge over a trickling stream, and we take turns crossing, one by one, balancing with arms outstretched like tightrope walkers. Ethan goes first, naturally, making it look effortless, then turns back to cheer me on. My legs wobble as I inch across that log, the stream gurgling below like it's daring me to slip. I make it to the other side, heart pounding, and Ethan's there with a proud grin, clapping me on the back like I've just conquered Everest. For a moment, I let myself bask in that warmth, in the camaraderie of the group, the shared triumph over something so small yet so daunting. But the forest doesn't let us rest for long. The air shifts, growing heavier, and I feel the first fat drop of rain hit my cheek, then another. Before I can even process it, the sky opens up, and a downpour slams into us like a wall of water. It's relentless, soaking me to the bone in mere minutes, my clothes clinging to my skin, heavy and cold. The rain roars in my ears, drowning out everything else, and I can barely see 2 feet in front of me through the sheets of water cascading down. Panic ripples through the group, voices shouting over the storm, but it's chaos, pure and simple. Blake's gravelly voice cuts through the noise, sharp and commanding, ordering us to split into smaller groups to find shelter fast. My stomach twists as I see Ethan hesitate, his eyes locking with mine for a split second before he's pulled away by 2 others to check a different path. I want to call out to him, to keep him close, but the wind swallows my voice, and he's gone into the blur of rain and shadow. I'm left standing there, shivering, until Blake's hand grips my arm, firm but not rough, pulling me along with him. "This way," he barks, and I don't argue. I can't. My teeth are already chattering, my body trembling from the cold seeping into my bones. We trudge through the mud, my boots slipping with every step, the ground turning into a slick, treacherous mess beneath me. Each movement is a battle, my legs burning from the effort, my breath coming in sharp, ragged gasps. The rain stings my face, and I can barely keep my eyes open against the onslaught. But Blake doesn't falter. He's a shadow ahead of me, cutting through the storm like he was born for it, leading me deeper into the forest until I spot a shape through the haze. A small, abandoned wooden cabin nestled among the trees, half hidden by overgrown vines and branches. It's like something out of a ghost story, weathered and sagging, but right now, it might as well be a 5-star hotel. We stumble inside, the door creaking on rusty hinges, and the sudden quiet is almost deafening after the roar of the storm. The air in here is thick with the musty smell of damp wood and decay, the kind of scent that clings to the back of your throat. The floorboards groan under our weight as we step in, and I can't help but flinch at every sound, half expecting the whole place to collapse around us. Blake moves with purpose, rummaging through a corner until he finds a single flickering lantern, its weak light casting long, eerie shadows across the walls. I huddle in a corner, wrapping my arms around myself, trying to stop the shivering that's taken over my body. My teeth chatter so hard I'm sure he can hear it, and I feel pathetic, weak, like I'm not cut out for any of this. Then I hear his boots scuffing against the floor, and I look up to see Blake approaching, a rough wool blanket in his hands. It's threadbare, probably older than I am, but I don't care. He drapes it over my shoulders, his movements deliberate, and I mumble a shaky thanks as I pull it tighter around me. But he doesn't step back. Instead, he kneels down in front of me, his hands lingering on my shoulders for just a moment too long. My breath catches as he pulls me closer, his body heat seeping through the damp fabric of my clothes, and I don't resist. I can't. I'm too cold, too tired, and there's something in the way he looks at me. Those sharp, intense eyes softened by something I can't name as I stand there in the dim flicker of the lantern. The weight of what just happened in that cabin presses down on me like a physical force. My mind is a storm of its own, swirling with confusion and shame, but there's no time to dwell on it. Blake and I have to get back to the group, to Ethan, to pretend that nothing's changed. We step back into the now a steady drizzle, the cold biting at my skin again as I pull the blanket tighter around me. My boots squelch in the mud with every step, and I keep my head down, avoiding Blake's gaze as we navigate the slippery path back to where we last saw the others. My heart is a drum in my chest, pounding out a rhythm of guilt and fear. What if someone saw? What if Ethan knows? I shake the thought away, telling myself it's impossible, but it lingers like a shadow I can't outrun. The forest is quieter now, the storm having spent most of its fury, but the air still feels heavy, charged with something I can't quite name. After what feels like an eternity, I hear voices, familiar ones, strained but alive. Relief floods through me as I spot the group huddled under a makeshift tarp of branches and a torn poncho, their faces pale and weary in the gray light of pre-dawn. Ethan's there among them, his broad shoulders slumped with exhaustion, but his eyes light up the moment they find mine. He pushes through the others, his boots slipping slightly in the mud, and pulls me into a tight embrace before I can even process it. His warmth is overwhelming, familiar, and it cuts through me like a knife because I don't deserve it. Not now. Not after what I've done. "Vanessa, thank God you're okay," he murmurs into my hair, his voice rough with worry. I can feel the tremble in his arms, the relief pouring off him, and it makes my stomach churn even harder. I mumble something about getting caught in the storm, my words half lost in the fabric of his jacket, and I can't bring myself to look at him. Not fully. My eyes dart to the ground, to the muddy earth between us, anywhere but his face. I feel Blake's presence a few steps away, silent but heavy, and I pray Ethan doesn't notice the way I tense every time the guide shifts his weight. Every time Ethan squeezes my hand, asking again if I'm all right, it's like a punch to the gut. I nod, force a smile, and lie through my teeth, saying I'm just cold, just tired. But inside, I'm unraveling, the guilt twisting tighter with every word. The rest of the quest passes in a haze, like I'm watching it through a fogged-up window. We trudge onward, the group moving as one exhausted unit, our boots dragging through the wet undergrowth as the first hints of dawn paint the sky in streaks of pale gold and gray. My body aches, every muscle screaming from the night's ordeal, but it's nothing compared to the weight in my chest. I keep my distance from Blake, sticking close to Ethan instead, though even that feels like a betrayal. The forest seems endless, the path winding and uneven, and I lose track of time, of direction, of everything except the dull rhythm of putting one foot in front of the other. We're all soaked to the bone, weary beyond words, but we're alive. That's what matters, or at least that's what I keep telling myself. Ethan's quieter than usual as we walk, his usual boundless energy dimmed by the night's toll. His smiles, when they come, feel forced, lacking the warmth I'm used to seeing. I catch him fiddling with something in his backpack more than once, his fingers restless as they toy with a small, metallic device I can't quite make out. It's odd, out of character for him to be so distracted, and it sets my nerves on edge. My mind, already a mess of paranoia, starts spinning wild theories. Does he know? Did he see something in the storm, hear something? I try to push the thoughts down, to bury them under layers. I'm finally home, the familiar creak of the front door sounding louder than it should as I step inside, still damp from the forest, my clothes clinging to me like a second skin. My hair's a mess, plastered to my neck, and every inch of me feels raw, physically from the trek, emotionally from the secret I'm carrying. The warmth of the house hits me like a wave, but it doesn't touch the cold knot in my chest. Ethan's behind me, shrugging off his muddy boots with an ease that feels wrong, too casual, like the night didn't carve something out of both of us. He's got his laptop tucked under one arm, and I watch, almost detached, as he sets it down on the kitchen table with a soft thud. The way he moves, so deliberate, so unbothered, sends a prickle of unease down my spine. I'm standing there, frozen by the doorway, my hands fidgeting with the hem of my jacket, waiting for something, anything to break the silence that settled between us like a fog. He flips open the laptop, the screen casting a pale blue glow across his face as he taps a few keys. I force myself to move closer, my socked feet dragging on the tile, curiosity and dread warring inside me. "What are you doing?" I ask, my voice thinner than I mean it to be. He glances up, that crooked smile of his flickering for just a second, but there's something off about it, something I can't place. "Just wanted to show you something," he says, his tone light, almost playful, as if we're about to watch a funny video or relive some old memory. But my gut twists, telling me this isn't that kind of moment. I hover behind him, peering over his shoulder as the screen loads a file, and he explains, still in that too calm voice, that he'd launched a small drone during the quest. During the storm, he adds, almost as an afterthought, to scout the area, make sure we were safe. My breath catches. A drone? I hadn't seen it, hadn't heard it over the roar of the rain, but now that he said it, I remember the small metallic thing he'd been fidgeting with on the trail. My mind races, piecing it together too late, and I feel the floor tilt under me as the video starts to play. The footage is grainy, the image jittering slightly from the wind, but it's clear enough. Too clear. It's an overhead view of the forest, the trees a dark blur beneath the drone's lens, and then there it is, the cabin, that rickety old shelter where everything fell apart. My heart stops, a cold sweat breaking out on my skin as the camera zooms in just enough to catch the faint glow of the lantern through the cracked window. I want to look away, to bolt from the room, but I'm rooted to the spot, my eyes glued to the screen as the drone shifts angle. And there we are, Blake and me. The image isn't perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Our silhouettes are unmistakable, pressed close, locked in that moment of weakness, that embrace I've been trying to bury since the second it happened. My stomach lurches, bile rising in my throat, and I grip the back of Ethan's chair to keep from swaying. It's all there, captured in stark, undeniable clarity, a silent accusation playing out in front of me. I can't breathe. I can't think. All I can do is stare as the shame washes over me in waves, hot and suffocating, drowning out everything else. I wait for the explosion. I brace myself for Ethan to slam the laptop shut, to turn on me with anger blazing in his eyes, to shout or curse or demand an explanation I don't have. My mind scrambles for excuses, for anything to soften the blow, but nothing comes. I'm empty, hollowed out by the weight of my own guilt. But then, something happens that I don't expect. He doesn't yell. He doesn't even flinch. Instead, he lets the video play out for a few more agonizing seconds before he pauses it with a slow, deliberate click. The silence that follows is heavier than anything I've ever felt, thicker than the forest fog, pressing down on me until I'm sure I'll crack under it. My eyes are still locked on the frozen image on the screen, that damning silhouette of Blake and me, and I can't bring myself to look at Ethan. I don't know what I'll see in his face. Rage, hurt, disgust, and I'm not ready to face any of it. My hands tremble as they grip the chair, my nails digging into the wood, and I feel like I'm teetering on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the ground to give way beneath me. Then, out of nowhere, he winks at me. A quick, subtle flicker of his eye, so fast I almost think I imagined it. But I didn't. It's there, a gesture so casual, so out of place in this suffocating moment, that it throws me completely off balance. My mind races, spinning in 1,000 directions at once. What does that mean? Is he mocking me? Playing some kind of twisted game? I open my mouth to say something, anything, but the words stick in my throat, dry and useless. I'm drowning in confusion, my heart pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it, and all I can do is stand there, frozen, as he leans back in his chair with an unreadable expression. "Pretty intense stuff, huh?" He finally says, his voice low, almost a murmur, but there's an edge to it I can't quite decipher. I blink at him, my brain struggling to catch up, to make sense of his tone. Intense. That's all he has to say. I'm waiting for the storm, for the accusations to rain down, but instead, he tilts his head, studying me like I'm some kind of puzzle he's trying to solve. I gotta admit, Vanessa, I didn't expect to see something like this when I reviewed the footage. But I'm not mad, not even close. His words hit me like a punch, knocking the air out of my lungs. Not mad. How can he not be mad? I feel my knees weaken, and I grip the chair harder, trying to steady myself as he continues, his voice steady, almost thoughtful. Honestly, I found it thrilling. Like watching one of those high-stakes adventures I'm always chasing, but this time it's personal, it's us. I stare at him, my mouth dry, my thoughts a tangled mess. Thrilling. The word echoes in my head, foreign and wrong, like it doesn't belong in this conversation. I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop, for him to reveal that this is all some cruel setup before he unleashes his real feelings. But he just keeps looking at me, that crooked smile creeping back, not with anger, but with something else. Something like curiosity or maybe even excitement. I've always been about pushing boundaries, you know that. He goes on, leaning forward now, his elbows resting on the table. Out there in the wild, it's about testing limits, seeing how far I can go. But I've been thinking, maybe I've been curious about pushing boundaries here too. With us, our relationship. Seeing that footage, it didn't make me jealous. It made me wonder what else we could explore together. My breath catches, a sharp, involuntary gasp that I can't hide. I feel like the room is spinning, like the walls are closing in, and I don't know if I'm hearing him right. Explore, together. My mind flashes back to that moment in the cabin. The heat of Blake's closeness, the rush of something forbidden, and I'm horrified to realize that a tiny part of me, a part I've been trying to bury, felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. But this, what Ethan's suggesting, it's too much, too fast. I shake my head slightly, not in refusal but in sheer disbelief, my voice barely a whisper as I manage to choke out. "What are you saying, Ethan?" He reaches out, his eyes searching mine with an intensity that both terrifies and exhilarates me, and says softly, "I'm saying we should take this leap together, no matter how uncertain it seems. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you."